The Google Pixel 6 series became a darling of the Android market by providing consumers with a flagship-level device without the flagship price tag. This year, Google hopes to live up to its reputation with the release of the Pixel 7. But is the Pixel 7 really the follow-up fans have been waiting for? I'm Harley Moran with Android Authority, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Google Pixel 7. The Pixel 7 features a few improvements over its predecessor. The Pixel 7 retains the same glass sandwich design as last year, with the front and back protected by Gorilla Glass Victus, making the phone a little bit more durable. The camera bar makes an encore with the Pixel 7, although for this iteration, Google has opted for a brushed aluminum housing instead of glass. Not only does this design change help you distinguish the 7 from the 6, but it also makes the camera bar less of a fingerprint magnet. An aluminum frame holds the two glass halves together and feels slightly thicker than the frame on the Pixel 6. Coupled with a flat edge screen, the Pixel 7 feels great in the hand and is arguably easier to hold than the curved edge Pixel 7 Pro. Looking at the front of the device, the Pixel 7 retains a similar 1080p panel to its predecessor, despite the Pixel 7 measuring 0.1 inches smaller. The display also features a refresh rate of up to 90 Hz, same as last year, which isn't as buttery smooth as the Pixel 7 Pro's 120Hz panel, but it is still enough to provide a smooth viewing experience when scrolling through the interface. Under the display, you will find a much improved and more reliable fingerprint sensor. Granted, it is not the fastest in-screen sensor we've ever tested, but it is certainly a leg up from the Pixel 6's fingerprint sensor, which was plagued by reliability issues and sluggish response times. Of course, with the Pixel 7, you now have the option to unlock your phone with your face through FaceUnlock. From my testing, FaceUnlock works pretty fast. However, it is worth noting that it only uses basic imaging rather than 3D depth data, which means that you can't use FaceUnlock with banking apps or other secure services. If you look at our benchmarks, you can see that the Pixel 7 lags behind the likes of Apple, Asus, Samsung, and OnePlus. However, these numbers don't necessarily tell the whole story. From my experience, the Pixel 7 breezes through daily tasks with no issues. The phone did get a little warm when flipping through apps or watching videos for a long amount of time. However, this occasional heat buildup didn't seem to have an impact on performance. Now, with the slightly improved processing performance, coupled with the slightly smaller form factor of the Pixel 7, it is easy to assume that all of this will come at the cost of the phone's battery life. Fortunately, that is not the case. Even with a slightly smaller battery compared to last year, the Pixel 7 is able to make it through a day of heavy gaming, web browsing, watching videos, with 15% to spare by bedtime. And depending on how you use your phone, you should expect a day or two's worth of on-screen time. When you need to charge your Pixel 7, be prepared to wait, since the charging speeds of this phone are quite slow. Now sure, you can go from 0 to 50% in just 30 minutes, but that isn't really enough battery life to take you through the whole day with enough headroom. That being said, if you're thinking of buying the Pixel 7, you're gonna have to get into the habit of charging every night, or at least carrying a charger with you. When we reviewed the Pixel 6 last year, we stated that it had one of the best smartphone camera systems we've ever tested. And I'm happy to say that the mantle has been passed over to the Pixel 7, which continues to impress us with its photo and video capabilities. Like its predecessor, the Pixel 7 sports the same camera hardware, which includes a 50-megapixel main shooter and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera. Unfortunately, the Pixel 7 does not have a dedicated telephoto camera or macro focus capabilities, as that is reserved for the Pro model. But that doesn't stop the Pixel 7 from producing high-quality images. Here are some image samples that the team and I were able to capture using the Pixel 7. As you can see, the Pixel 7 has great dynamic range, good color reproduction, and a good amount of sharpness and detail. Beyond hardware, Google's machine learning algorithms play a key role in creating such clean images. For example, the phone's night sight feature does a great job in retaining image detail with minimal noise in low light conditions. And with Tensor G2, capturing night sight photos is about twice as fast as last year's model. Meanwhile, the company's super res zoom feature allows you to take photos of faraway objects without a dedicated telephoto camera. However, from our testing, we found that you'll want to be careful about pushing the zoom too far, as anything past 3 times zoom may start to look way too processed and basically unusable. The front-facing camera of the Pixel 7 is a slight improvement from the Pixel 6. The images do come across as a little soft, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, since this slight softness helps compensate for the occasional over-sharpening via software. Looking at the video side of things, the Pixel 7 can record 4K at 60 frames per second from both rear cameras, and 10-bit HDR 4K at 30 frames per second. However, after shooting with both modes, I felt that you're better off just recording without HDR enabled. Shooting with the HDR mode resulted in really bad highlight roll-off, in my opinion, making it appear as if the footage was over-sharpened, as you can see by Adam's eyebrows in this footage. The Pixel 7 also introduces cinematic video capabilities, which is very similar to Apple's cinematic mode. It is limited to shooting at 24 frames per second at 1080p, which isn't exactly cinematic. Using the feature, I found that it looked way too artificial for my taste. The software doesn't do enough to smoothly blend the edges of the subject with the background, resulting in the helmet hair effect when shooting people. Also, the camera struggled to keep the background blurry and consistently hunted for focus, which really just does not look good. If you want to shoot video with the Pixel 7, I just recommend sticking with the standard video mode, setting your resolution to 4K, and then just choosing your frame rate according to your preference. The Pixel 7 ships with Android 13 and Google's Pixel UI, which I argue is among the best Android skins out there, and is as close to stock Android as you're gonna get. There's no unnecessary bloatware to deal with, and Google's Material You design language is great in helping you customize the device to really make it feel like your own. Of course, with a Pixel comes exclusive features that take advantage of the machine learning capabilities of Tensor G2. This includes a handy recorder app with voice transcriptions, call screening to filter out robocalls and scammers, voicemail message transcriptions, Hold for Me, and a suite of photo processing tools. So the question stands. Is the Google Pixel 7 a good phone, and should you buy it? Well, first off, yes. The Google Pixel 7 is a good phone, especially at such a competitive price. It features a tried and tested design with some welcome durability improvements, a nice display, decent performance, great software, and one of the best smartphone camera systems around.